It was once the undisputed king of kids' TV, but these days the mouse is barely hanging on. Disney's ratings have tanked, the magic is fading, and its reign is all but over. So what happened? Was it the rise of a certain sponge, shifting viewer habits, the streaming wars, or did its worst enemy turn out to be itself? On today's episode of The Infographics Show, we're revealing why the Disney Channel is failing. There is no brand that has a tighter grip on the imagination of American kids than Disney. From an early age, there's a good chance that the first movie they see in theaters will feature that famous castle. Whether it's an animated fairy tale, a Pixar adventure, or a live-action remake of a movie their parents loved. And then there's the theme parks. Walt Disney World and Disneyland are rites of passage for many kids. And let's be honest, their parents are happy to have an excuse to head back to their favorite childhood spot. So it was only a matter of time before they broke into TV. Disney has had a foothold in television for a long time. As early as 1954, it was airing anthology series on network television, often with tie-ins to the theme parks. These television movies and documentaries aired on ABC and NBC, with the company purchasing the former network in the 1990s. It would also start producing cartoons directly for television, many of which aired on Saturday mornings or weekday syndication. Soon, that iconic intro was associated with safe TV for the little ones, and the parents felt okay sitting them in front of the TV for some wholesome family entertainment. And soon, it would take the next step. Disney Channel first dropped on the air in 1983, aiming its programming at children and younger adolescents. It started slowly, airing a combination of movies and television shows from its large archive. These were joined by a trickle of originals that became more and more successful. Soon, they were airing original cartoons, sitcoms, and television movies that were perfectly targeted to their core audience and their parents. Suddenly, cable television, which was mostly the province of adults until then, was becoming a sensation among kids. If you didn't have it, you were likely begging your parents for it. And it turned into a massive sensation. Disney Channel took off like wildfire, and it only got bigger from there. At its peak in 2011, 100 million American households had a cable TV package that included the Disney Channel, one of the largest footprints of any premium channel. After nearly 40 years of existence, it had become a part of childhood for multiple generations. Many of its programs and stars were household names, and some of its most popular properties were coming back for revivals. On the surface, things looked very bright, but under the surface, trouble was brewing. Today, the ratings for Disney Channel are a shadow of their former self. Although the channel still has a huge footprint, it's in 70 million households, but the average viewership each day is down to 98,000, almost 40,000 below its arch-rival Nickelodeon. That puts it as the 63rd most-watched channel on TV overall, and no one is sure if it's ever going to pull itself out of this spiral, because the one thing that makes a channel succeed is if it has programming that really draws viewership, and most of Disney Channel's content these days is geared more toward nostalgia. No matter how old a Disney Channel fan is, the odds are they have fond memories of one era of the channel's content. For those who jumped on early, the channel was heavily populated by shows from syndication or Disney's history. That meant a constant stream of beloved cartoons, starring characters like Winnie the Pooh, Chip and Dale, Darkwing Duck, Goofy and his son Max, and then there was DuckTales, Woo Woo, and Gargoyles, both of which spawned original mythologies. Sure, not everything hit the mark. There was a Mighty Ducks spinoff that turned the underdog hockey players into hockey-playing duck alien refugees from another planet, but somehow it was enough to get people hooked, and it would only be uphill from there. Disney Channel actually kept a slightly lower profile in the 1980s and 1990s. Most of their cartoons were either syndicated or based on existing properties, and few of their TV movies made a lasting cultural impact, especially since many focused on historical adventures with a more dramatic tone. After all, they had a massive audience just by being Disney, and it was a big event when their most popular movies of their era would make their cable debut. No more shelling out $25 for a VHS tape, Mom and Dad. It was the dream, making a big profit for a relatively small sum, and it gave Disney the capital they needed to make a big push as the new millennium approached. But no one was prepared for just how big this would get. Disney Channel would soon make its first big step into the world of original cable-exclusive cartoons in 2001 with The Proud Family. This animated sitcom got tons of critical praise for its depiction of a multi-generational black family and a diverse friend group. It was followed less than a year later with the biggest hit of the early Disney Channel era, Kim Possible, an action-adventure cartoon starring a teenage super spy. A spin-off of hit movie Lilo and Stitch soon followed, and this threefer would bring a lot of new fans to the network. The other original cartoons of the first decade of the 2000s didn't find the same level of success, but it didn't matter, because the hits that put Disney Channel on the map weren't cartoons at all. This was the era where Disney Channel also started investing heavily in live-action sitcoms, and they actually beat the cartoons to the air. After all, they were cheaper, and Disney had no shortage of young stars that they could cast from their various reality shows. While a few early attempts did make a big impact, the first hit, Even Stevens, in 2000, launched the careers of Christy Carlson Romano and Shia LaBeouf as a mismatched pair of siblings. LaBeouf would go on to have a successful but controversial movie career, and from there it was off to the races. The 2000s had a cavalcade of wildly successful live-action sitcoms. Lizzie McGuire, about a teenager with a rich fantasy life, launched Hilary Duff into stardom. That's So Raven, about a psychic teen, was a big comeback act for former Cosby Show star Raven-Symoné. The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody was a broad wish fulfillment comedy about twin brothers living in an elaborate luxury hotel. And then the trend hit the stratosphere with Hannah Montana, which launched superstar Miley Cyrus into her music career. It also led to vehicles for up-and-coming singer-actors Selena Gomez, Demi Lovato, and the Jonas Brothers, who were all on the network as of 2010. This trend would dominate the network for the next decade, and many would say would push the cartoons off to the side and strip the channel of a lot of its charm. But money talks, and the channel's biggest success was yet to come. Although Disney Channel original movies, then called Disney Channel Premiere Films, were airing on the network since its debut, the channel started shifting its focus in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Gone were the historical dramas and inspirational tales. They were replaced with hip, modern adventures like inline skating dramedy Brink and teen horror movie Halloween Town, both of which were hits in 1998. The latter, along with sci-fi comedy Xenon Girl of the 21st Century, would spawn several sequels. By the early 2000s, the company would regularly drop a dozen or so original movies direct to Disney Channel. This would largely bring an end to the company's live-action comedy division in theaters. Remember Jungle to Jungle? Anyone? But the channel was about to hit on a gold mine that no one was prepared for. In the early 2000s, these movies saw a surge in popularity. Even Stevens got a movie spin-off, and Hilary Duff took on a new leading role in Cadet Kelly, where her character is sent to military school. And animated hits like Kim Possible and The Proud Family received feature-length films of their own. But then, in 2006, came the movie that would launch a franchise, High School Musical. Starring Zac Efron and Vanessa Hudgens as a mismatched high school couple, its tale of a popular basketball star who wanted to audition for the school play became a national obsession. Its songs charted, and the movie spawned 2 sequels. The third movie actually went to theaters and became a hit, a first for the network. Other musicals would follow, including the Demi Lovato starring Camp Rock and the Cheetah Girls franchise based on a popular kid-lit series. And with all of these hits, the channel was going to be grateful for some more real estate. The massive growth of the Disney Channel led them to create 2 spin-offs, each one of them with hits of their own. Disney XD, the first, would be aimed at a growing audience for the network, teenage boys. This channel, which launched in 2009, would focus on action-oriented sitcoms, movies, and cartoons. It would have its first big hit with The Spectacular Spider-Man, a more character-driven take on the web-slinger in 2009. It gained a bigger audience with the sci-fi adventure Star Wars Rebels, which introduced a cast of new Jedi and rogues to the Lucasfilms franchise. While few of its live-action properties were big hits, the channel found huge success with content from Disney's biggest franchises. And of course, we cannot forget about the children. Disney Junior, which launched in 2013, is a separate space for preschool-focused content, with most shows airing in shorter 11-minute episodes. They focus on teaching kids relatable life lessons, often with a song or two. While these shows didn't have big-name stars, they did have something more: toy appeal. Many of them became marketing sensations, like the network's signature show Doc McStuffins, about a little girl running a toy hospital. It was followed by Sophia the First, which featured guest appearances from the Disney princesses and spin-offs from Peter Pan and The Lion King. However, the network's biggest hit was one they didn't produce: the Australian dog sitcom Bluey, which became the hottest show in town for preschoolers in the 2020s. But was Disney getting too big for its own good? With 3 networks, each of them cranking out dozens of shows, the company had something for everyone. But then its output started to shift. It had several new hit cartoons, including the dense and wacky Phineas and Ferb, which saw two stepbrothers spending their summer vacation building mad science inventions. There was also Gravity Falls, which sent twin siblings to a spooky town in the Pacific Northwest for their own summer adventure. Both were cultural phenomena, although Gravity Falls' darker tone saw it detailed to Disney XD for its second season, where it became more of a cult hit among an older audience. And that was where a big shift in Disney Channel's audience took place. With the younger skewing cartoons segregated on Disney Junior, Disney Channel shifted its focus to more nostalgia-driven cartoons. A revival of DuckTales and sequel spin-offs to Tangled and Big Hero 6, as well as more Star Wars shows, brought teenagers and adults to the network, and the company struggled to balance its new audience with its target viewers. Many of these new shows were heavily serialized, while Disney Channel's MO was designed to have shows be easy to watch as soon as a kid flicks on the television. This led to many conflicts with showrunners. Gravity Falls' Alex Hirsch eventually shared all the editorial notes he received from Disney and the DuckTales executive producer, complaining about episodes being aired out of order. But it wasn't just the audience that was changing, it was television itself. It might be hard to remember now, but Disney Channel was a revolution when it debuted. A whole network of nothing but Disney whenever you wanted it, not just at specific times. But even that felt a little restrictive by the middle of the 2010s. After all, what if you wanted to watch Gravity Falls, but it was time for DuckTales to air? And for once, Disney was starting to get left behind. Streaming services like Netflix and Hulu were giving people exactly what they wanted when they wanted it, and they were pulling the audience's attention away from cable, and Disney knew it had to join the fray. Disney Plus was the biggest new launch from Disney in ages, an all-in-one streaming service that was initially less than $10 a month. And while it didn't launch with too much original content, it didn't need it. It had 80 years of Disney content to drop when it debuted in 2019. And while it didn't include everything, with plenty of obscure old movies and problematic cartoons left out, it still offered more than enough to keep every subscriber watching for a very long time. And it would do its best to bring back the old must-see TV slogan. Disney Plus took a massive swing when it started bringing in original TV series spinning out of its most popular movie franchises. It launched with The Mandalorian, a story from the world of Star Wars that introduced the fanbase to Grogu, better known as Baby Yoda, and the most marketable little guy of all time. Several other Star Wars shows would follow, including a Boba Fett spinoff and The Gritty Andor, which got an Emmy nomination for Best Drama. And then there was Marvel, which saw standalone miniseries for Scarlet Witch, Captain America, Hawkeye, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, and more. But there was an unexpected problem in the wings. Disney had inadvertently made things too complicated. Stories from some of the Marvel miniseries were continued into movies, and many people who didn't watch one or the other found themselves confused. This led to the new Captain Marvel and Captain America movies disappointing at the box office. Star Wars, meanwhile, hasn't had a theatrical movie since 2019, but that'll be changing in 2026 with The Mandalorian and Grogu spin-off. However, some recent Star Wars series like The Acolyte haven't got the buzz of the others, with that one even being canceled after one season. And when Disney Plus says it's got something for everyone, that might not be a good thing. One of Disney's biggest hallmarks is family-friendly entertainment, and the streaming service has had other original programming like spin-offs of High School Musical and The Santa Claus. But if you look on the front page today, you won't just find cartoons and Marvel movies. You'll find sports documentaries, rude and crude comedies like Family Guy, and even mature audience dramas like The Handmaid's Tale and Criminal Minds. This is because Disney now owns Hulu as well, and it has largely merged the two streaming services' content, ensuring that you can watch gritty crime thrillers in between your episodes of DuckTales. And for the parents, that is a big problem. While Disney does offer content filtering for the streaming service, letting parents turn off mature audiences' content, not everyone knows about it, and so the streaming service has become more of a risky bet for parents. And that, combined with the increase in price to well over $10 for the most popular plan, has led it to decline in popularity. There's also been an increasing fear that the direct-to-streaming shows aren't profitable enough. Marvel and Star Wars have both slowed down their TV output, with the next Mandalorian story headed straight to theaters. Meanwhile, Disney's animation team took 5 planned episodes of a Moana TV series and then stitched them into a single film and turned it into a billion-dollar box office hit. And that's leading to an even bigger question. Who is all this for anymore? Disney Channel is still going strong and not likely to close down anytime soon. Similar to Nickelodeon, it still has a chokehold on the nostalgia buttons of multiple generations. But all 3 networks have taken a big hit in ratings. Disney Channel is still the highest rated at an average of 98,000 viewers, with Disney Junior clocking in 13 slots lower at 55,000. Disney XD is way down at number 142 with only 24,000 viewers and currently airs most of its content in reruns from the Disney Channel. And across the platform, there are growing worries. Disney relies heavily on being a trusted name for parents, but in recent years it's appealing more and more to teenagers and Disney adults. That was especially evident in two shows that aired on the Disney Channel in the early 2020s, one of which was created by a former storyboard artist on Gravity Falls. Amphibia, a story about three girls who wind up trapped in a world of talking frogs, courted controversy with a shockingly dark Season 2 finale that saw one of the girls seemingly killed in a shocking betrayal. The episode was deemed so unsettling that Disney actually delayed the season finale for a month, aired it with a disclaimer, and then spoiled the character's survival in an early Season 3 trailer. But hey, at least the show didn't make national news. Amphibia's sister show, The Owl House, saw a misfit girl wind up in a world of witches, monsters, and magic. The show was massively acclaimed as a groundbreaking series for its deep mythology and likable characters, but it also raised a fair amount of controversy for its genocidal witch hunter villain, as well as the fact that its main character was the first openly bisexual Disney lead, who later found her first love with a young witch. The show was protested by right-wing groups and nearly canceled after its second season cliffhanger. However, the network did greenlight a trio of finale movies for the character to wrap up the story. And that raises the question, who is Disney for anymore? If you go to the parks these days, you might be greeted with an unusual sight. Alongside the usual families, you'll find couples without kids and solo adult travelers living their best lives. They're riding the rides, taking selfies with Winnie the Pooh, and proudly wielding selfie sticks like magic wands. These so-called Disney adults get plenty of side-eye from traditional family-goers, but Disney embraces them. They binge buy souvenirs like there is no tomorrow. And as yesterday's Disney Channel kids become today's Disney adults, that nostalgia market may become the future. But can it save the Disney Channel? The channels are not going off the air anytime soon. While they've lost a lot of ratings since their heyday, all of cable is declining. But if you look at the three networks, they're all running a lot less original content than they used to. Disney XD isn't defunct, but it is essentially out of the in-house production business. The only original content it airs now is typically imported, licensed shows. Disney Junior currently runs 12 in-house original series, all designed to be episodic short-form television done in simple CGI animation. But at the OG, the outlook might be a little more cloudy. Disney Channel does still have a good amount of original content. Phineas and Ferb was given a 5th season, along with Disney's current cash cow shows Big City Greens and Kif, both of which lean into more episodic comedy storytelling. It also has Chibiverse, a sketch comedy show that features crossovers between many of its most popular shows past and present. But it's been canceling a lot of shows, including ending 3 shows after only 1 season: The Time Travel Adventures of Haley's On It, the controversial family comedy Primos, and reportedly the mad scientist summer camp comedy Stugo. That makes many people wonder if they're getting out of the original cartoon business. But if so, what'll they replace it with? In recent years, Disney Channel has detailed a lot of its original content to Disney+. This includes the revival of The Proud Family that got a much more mixed reception, and a sequel to Wizards of Waverly Place that brought back some of the original cast. Both air on Disney+ first, followed by airings on Disney Channel. The channel also did a sequel series to That's So Raven titled Raven's Home, which ended in 2023. But aside from revivals, the network only has one current live-action original, the musical comedy Electric Bloom, focused on a famous band reminiscing about their teen years. It only debuted in July 2025, so it's still too early to say if it'll be a hit. Part of the problem might be an increasingly critical eye on child actors in recent years, with many saying the environment isn't healthy for young actors, and it sets them up for trouble as they hit adulthood. And that's something Disney knows all too well, with the controversies that LaBeouf, Lovato, and Cyrus have been embroiled in over the years. So the next generation of Disney Channel sitcoms may not be happening. And the movie division isn't closing up, but it's not looking too healthy. Down a ton from its heyday of a dozen or so original Disney Channel movies, the network now typically airs under 5 a year. Most are sequels to existing franchises, like Descendants, which focuses on the children of the Disney villains, or Zombies, which sees creatures of the night going to high school. A few originals have also been sent to Disney+, but the network is relying increasingly heavily on reruns and other low-cost content, and many longtime fans are wondering what the channel can do to get its mojo back. And there might not be an easy answer. While Disney Channel may be a shadow of its former self, almost everyone else is as well. All the cartoon-based cable networks have lost an overwhelming majority of their viewership, and all of the streaming services are struggling to figure out how to make a profit with original content and cut costs. So it's likely that Disney will continue to cut back on Disney Channel and rely heavily on the goodwill they've already built with audiences over the last 4 decades. After all, they still have a few dozen shows they can reboot. And that break glass in case of emergency sign on Kim Possible is looking awfully inviting. Turns out Mickey Mouse isn't the only icon struggling to stay relevant. Ronald McDonald is facing his own crisis too. Check out the real reason McDonald's is failing to see how the golden arches are crumbling. Or click on this video instead.